green bond. We'll begin our program momentarily, but first I wanted to go over some of the housekeeping since we're on this virtual webinar platform. Your microphone is automatically muted. Your video is off if you're a participant. The chat feature has been disabled for the speaking portion, but there will be an opportunity at the end for members of the press to ask questions after everyone's delivered the remarks. If you have a question, please use the Q&A feature on the right-hand side of the menu at the bottom of the screen and submit it. And if you have a technical need or a question, use the Q&A feature and we will try to help you as best we can. Now, before we get into the advocacy part of our program, I'd like to introduce Secretary of State Nelly Gorbea. She's here in her official capacity to explain the process, the action steps, the time frame leading up to the statewide special election on the referenda on March 2nd. Rhode Island voters have a big deadline coming up in a week that the Secretary of State will tell you about, and we want to get the word out. So, Madam Secretary, thank you for your presence this morning.
Thank you, Director Coit, and everybody else on this wonderful call, and thanks for the chance to speak today. It's an honor to share the virtual stage with my fellow elected officials and all of our panelists. And yes, it's true that fresh off of the election of a lifetime, we'll be once again casting our ballots next month. And the good news is that despite the incredible challenges of 2020, the election last year, particularly the November election, was a huge success in Rhode Island, and we're going to be doing a lot of the same things that made it a success for the March 2nd election. The 7 bond questions on the ballot tackle important issues for Rhode Islanders, things like investments in education, housing, childcare, the environment, roads and bridges. And question 2, which we are kicking off today, is one that every Rhode Islander will be able to identify with, especially if you're a parent. I love being able to take my parents to the beaches and the parks that will be helped by this bond. I'm encouraged by the investments that these $75 million will have in making our state more resilient to climate change, how it will keep our drinking water clean and support our local farms. And each of these projects will provide great jobs now and way into the future. But I digress. My job here is to tell you about the nuts and bolts of the election, so let me just jump right into that. The election, like I said, will be running just like it did in 2020. Voters will be provided with a lot of information, and then they'll be able to vote safely and securely so that we can keep people healthy while making sure that they can exercise their right to vote. Later this month, every household will be receiving a voter guide on each of the bond questions, and if you're really curious as to what it looks like, you can go on our website, vote.ri.gov. Every voter will have 3 safe and secure options to choose from in terms of casting a ballot. So you're going to be able to either choose whether you want to vote from home using a mail ballot, early in person at your city or town hall starting 20 days before the election, or you can vote at the polls on March 2nd. So if you want to vote from home in the special election, my office did send out all active registered voters a mail ballot application that has a prepaid return envelope. And all you have to do is to fill it out and return that mail ballot application by February 9th, which is the deadline that Janet referred to. Please remember that even if you voted from home in November, you still have to fill out a mail ballot application to vote from home in the special election. There will be, once again, secure election drop boxes located in every single Rhode Island community, thanks to the hard work of the Board of Elections. And you can use any drop box to return your ballot. We have a drop box locator at vote.ri.gov to help you find the one that's closest to your home or to your work. And you're also able to track the status of your mail ballot on vote.ri.gov. So if you want to know sort of what happened once you sent it in, the application, you'll be able to track everything with regards to your application and later on your ballot. Early in-person voting, the second way that I talked about that you can vote, was hugely popular in November, and you can do it again for the special election. I'm proud to say that it's now the law of the land here in Rhode Island, so early in-person voting is here to stay. The process works the same as voting at the polls, and basically just have to show your ID, receive your ballot, fill it out, and feed it into the voting machine. And the early in-person voting period is 20 days, and it starts February 10th and runs through March 1st. And then if you chose to vote on Election Day, there will be 57 polling locations open. So that's a lot fewer than the number of polling places for the November election. It's very likely that your polling place that you usually are used to going to will have changed. Make sure you go to vote.ri.gov to figure out where to go vote if you're going to vote on March 2nd. The polling places will be available 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. like they usually are. And one big reminder, all ballots, including mail ballots, have to be received by the Board of Elections or in a drop box by 8 p.m. on Election Day. So please don't sit on these. Fill them out, get them in as quickly as possible. Sorry, of course. You can find all of this at vote.ri.gov. It's a lot of information. And so I want to encourage everybody to do that, to go to vote.ri.gov. You can also contact my team at elections at sos.ri.gov or give us a call at 222-2340. We can handle a number of languages there. And I really want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today and encourage all Rhode Islanders to be voters for this March 2nd special election.
Thank you so much, Secretary Gorbea. We're so grateful for that clear information, and we're grateful for all that you do to make sure we have fair and open elections in the state of Rhode Island. So thanks for joining us today. So green bonds support everything that I love about Rhode Island and that many people love about Rhode Island: the clean blue waters, our parks, our open spaces, the vibrancy and diversity of our communities. So I wanted to give a brief overview of what's in the bond, and I think we're going to put up a slide and then move on to our wonderful panel of speakers today. So the bond, the green bond, is a $74 million bond, and it really includes what we need to invest in to make Rhode Island a better place. There's a once-in-a-generation investment of $33 million for state parks, beaches, and campgrounds. There's a $15 million investment for drinking water and clean water, $7 million to strengthen municipal resilience. Oh, I'm not going in the right order here. Sorry. The local recreation bonds are one of our most popular programs at DEM, $4 million. The local park money for 195 land on each side of that wonderful bridge in Providence is $4 million. The natural and working lands is to protect farmlands and forests, $3 million. And there's a special investment of $2 million in the Woonasquatucket River Watershed Council that has done so much work to revitalize an urban greenway through many of our communities. So that's an overview of the bond. We have fact sheets and information ready, but I'd like to move on now to our speaking program. And start with our next speaker, who never hesitates to roll up his sleeves and get his hands dirty. He has done a lot of work to understand the complexity and value of our fishing ports, to help rebuild our schools. He oversees over $9 billion fund that involves our state pensions. So I think he knows a lot about investments and a good investment when he sees it. So it's my delight and pleasure to introduce General Treasurer Seth Magaziner.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you to all of my colleagues in government who are here, particularly Director Coit, for your leadership. Thank you to all the members of the environmental community who are here as well, and to everybody who's watching at home, all Rhode Islanders. As the director said, in the Treasurer's office, we know a good investment when we see one, and investing in Rhode Island's green and blue spaces is an absolutely vital investment that will pay dividends for our state for years to come. Listen, we are in a tough time economically in this state and across our country, and we need to be bold in investing in initiatives that will put Rhode Islanders to work and make our economy more competitive over the long run. And question 2 is a great example of one of those bold steps that we can take to do just that. This bond, when it is passed, will fund projects that will create hundreds and hundreds of jobs and make our state more competitive by improving our natural environment, which will help our tourism and hospitality industry, help our food and agricultural sector, and help our general quality of life, which will make Rhode Island a more attractive destination for people to live, work, visit, raise a family, and once again, improve our quality of life for years to come. I'm particularly excited that this bond includes funding for resilience projects. We are a low-lying coastal state. We are vulnerable to climate change and extreme weather events. The average level of the Narragansett Bay has risen 6 inches in just the last 30 years. And so we need to make our infrastructure more resilient and better prepared for the impact of climate change. We should seize this opportunity now. We can create a lot of good jobs in doing so, because heading off the impact of climate change now will save us money over the long run. It'll be much more expensive to fix all of these things once they are broken, rather than take these precautionary steps to upgrade our infrastructure and make it more resilient now. So this makes sense on a whole range of different levels. Good for the environment, good for jobs, good for our quality of life, good for our resiliency in the face of climate change. That's why I'm encouraging all Rhode Islanders to vote yes on question 2, and asking all of you watching at home to help us get the word out so that we can get this bond passed and we can put Rhode Islanders to work improving the quality of our natural environment and getting our economy on the road to recovery. So thank you, Director, and thank you everyone for joining today.
Thank you so much, Treasurer Magaziner. There's also, for people who want information, a voteyesonto.com website, which will give you more information about the bond. Our next guest came into his current leadership position recently in a very tight and high-pressure time frame. He led the House efforts to enact a budget and to include referenda that allow us to invest in things we care about in Rhode Island, like question 2. So the entire Yes on 2 coalition applauds your leadership. I'm really happy to introduce the Speaker of the Rhode Island House of Representatives, Joe Shekarchi.
Thank you, Director. It's always a pleasure to be here and support these great initiatives that you have always championed. And I want to recognize all the wonderful leaders on the call as well. There's many colleagues in the General Assembly, many good friends. I see Senator Goodwin on the call, and she was a champion of the Greenway project for the Woonasquatucket Riverway. It's not easy in these difficult times to spend money, but I tend to agree with Treasurer Magaziner. Now is the time. The General Assembly appropriated approximately $400 million of dollars to go out for bonding in March. It was critically important that we do it at this time, and the Green Bond is certainly a very big part of that. From a personal standpoint, I just love Rhode Island. I'm the eternal optimist, I like to say. I visit Rocky Point every week. My dog loves Rocky Point, and I go to Goddard Park in Warwick. They're beautiful, scenic, unbelievable gems that Rhode Island should cherish and nurture and grow. And I couldn't be more proud to support all of the initiatives in the Green Bond, including the dredging of the Providence River. That's critically important for the economy and to get the ships in and out of Providence. We need to continue that. It also was cleaning up a tremendous amount of pollution and, quite frankly, junk, refrigerators and stoves we find in the Providence River. It's really heartening to see it finally get cleaned up. So I'm proud to support these efforts. I agree. If we can go back, Director, you put up a slide. It listed all the bonds. But there was a part of that slide that you didn't reference that I want to reference. I don't know if we can go back. I don't know who the moderator is. But that these bonds, not only, as we all know, are very, very good. Thank you. Very, very good for the economy. Look at the left area. 9.4 million visits, $311 million in consumer spending to Rhode Island's campgrounds, beaches, and parks, and 3,700 jobs yearly. This is good for the economy. And I see my good friend George Nee on here for the AFL-CIO. So there are times when we can be very supportive of the economy by also supporting the environment. And we need to recognize that. It's critical that we do this. The URI study that was referenced it shows, it actually quantifies the benefits that we get in the state. I'm proud to support it. I know you have a lot of speakers. I don't want to belabor the point, but there is a component in this green bond for local preservation as well as conservation, and $33 million in parks and campgrounds throughout Rhode Island, and of course our beauty, the beaches, the best part of Rhode Island. They don't call it the Ocean State for nothing. So I congratulate everyone's efforts, including Save the Bay. I see Topher on the call, and everybody who works so hard. Clean Water Action, everybody works hard to make Rhode Island a good place to live and work, and a big part of that is to preserve and to expand all of our environmental assets. And this bond goes a long way to do it. I'm proud to support it. And I thank you, Director, for your stewardess of the state and DEM for so long and doing it so well.
Thank you so much. Really, our parks and local areas are one of the things we do best in Rhode Island, and we definitely saw in this last terribly hard year that people were looking for places to recreate and restore outdoors all year, including even on days like today. The next speaker is a wonderful public servant who has earned a reputation for integrity and leadership. She's been a tremendous advocate for environmental programs and for making sure they touch down in urban communities. If anything happens in the city of Providence, I'm sure she probably hears about it first. I really appreciate your leadership and you being here today. I'm so pleased to introduce the Senate Majority Whip, Senator Mary Ellen Goodwin.
Thank you, Director Coit, and thank you everyone that's joined here on this call here today, my colleagues in government, my friends in labor and the environmental community. It's just great to be with you all here today. I know there's a lot of speakers, and I don't want to get repetitive, but I just wanted to say that I'm happy to be here to help promote the $74 million bond, which will be on our ballot on March 2nd. As we know, the bond will be an opportunity for Rhode Island to vote on clean water, improvements to our beaches, parks, infrastructure. I mean, so many wonderful improvements that we greatly need at this time. Of course, because all politics is local, and as the director said, I certainly love our capital city. I'm especially happy about the $6 million for the dredging. Speaker Shekarchi said it best. The Providence River really, really needs this dredging desperately, not only for the cleanup of all the debris that we have, but also I wanted to point out so that we can continue and expand water fires, a great event that we have up until COVID, of course, a lot of Saturday nights, which is such a wonderful opportunity for residents all across Rhode Island to have a nice Saturday night out free of charge. It's just such a beautiful event. And I think with this additional dredging, we can see some expansion of that. And of course, I wanted to also acknowledge the $2 million to the Woonasquatucket and Greenway projects. So folks, I won't go on and on. I'm just want to assure you that I will be lending my voice everywhere I go and asking folks all across Rhode Island in every forum that I get to support question number 2. So vitally, vitally needed for our great state. So thank you, Director Coit, and thank you everyone here on the call.
Thank you so much, Majority Whip Goodwin. Thank you for your voice and for those remarks. When I think back, I've probably spent more time with the next speaker doing upbeat things in his city than I have with, doing anything else with him, whether it's a splash park, soccer field, a ball field, green infrastructure projects, reclamation of contaminated lands. The mayor of the city of Pawtucket has really demonstrated how these bonds can have tangible impacts and be used to improve the quality of a community. So thanks for your great example and for being here today, Mayor Gorbea.
Thanks. Thank you, Director. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here to really promote bond number 2. It's so important. for us in the community of Pawtucket. I'm here to encourage as many people throughout the state, but here in Pawtucket, we've benefited so well from that we can go out and support this. Rhode Island has so many natural beauty in its beaches and its parks, its waterways, and its health preserved to date. When you think about Pawtucket being on the river, we have some exciting projects coming up that Pawtucket will benefit, as well as many other communities across Rhode Island and businesses and economic development. And there are so many natural resources that we bring, from jobs to the natural resources and thriving to help keep our communities clean. This bond would not only help support communities trying to redevelop and expand in green areas, but also help waterways remain clean in Narragansett Bay, which are vital to our waterways. And every single person on here that's speaking today understands that value. Pawtucket has been a beneficiary of many iterations from the Green Bond throughout the years. In 2020 alone, we were able to capitalize on the $1.6 million of that fund. So at the end of the day, Director, I want to thank you for your leadership, your team for yours, the Department of Environment, Save the Bay, and the many other partners who are out there supporting this, the leadership that helps communities. So thank you for this opportunity, and make sure we all vote on 2. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Gorbea. And really, the improvement of our water quality in our urban rivers and in our up bay and the upper bay is one of the real success stories that we should all take pride in as we welcome people back to recreational uses of these waterways. Our next speaker is from a town that is steeped in history, that's become a real leader on the local food scene. The town of Warren has demonstrated how to make your wastewater treatment facility more resilient, how to capture and treat stormwater, how to restore marshland. And it's because of the leadership of our next speaker, Town Manager Kate Michaud.
Hi, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm really happy to be here today to represent some of the smaller communities in the state of Rhode Island. We've heard a lot about the bigger communities, but we are the biggest little state in the union, and even the smallest towns benefit from the investments in the larger communities. Here in Warren, we are very thankful for the support that we've received through past bonds, especially the local recreation grants, which have allowed us to improve our outdoor spaces, which are now being used from everything from classrooms, marketplaces, event spaces. With the pandemic, we've really learned to make the most of our outdoor recreational areas, and I think that is something that will continue definitely into the future. As Director Coit mentioned, we have had great access to the clean water and drinking water funds to upgrade our wastewater treatment facility, to bring it into the 21st century at least, and to really improve the water quality both for recreational uses, but also for our commercial fishermen and our recreational fishermen, which are very important to our economy. And then finally, the Municipal Resource Program is something that's near and dear to my heart. We're one of the 5 communities that was able to participate in this program. And we're very excited to see that the projects that have come out of this community-based bottom-up approach to identifying projects to improve resilience. One of my favorite statistics that I have come across is that for every dollar that's spent on making infrastructure more disaster resilient, you save $6 in recovery costs. So as Treasurer Magaziner mentioned, it sounds like a pretty good investment if you are spending $1 and getting back $6 in benefits. In my opinion, that is a no-brainer. And also, Treasurer Magaziner mentioned that we are a low-lying state. The town of Warren happens to be average elevation of 7 feet. So when we talk about low-lying, we are very low-lying, but we are ready to approach the future with renewed optimism. And the thing that we say here in Warren is that we know that the future is not going to look like the past. So we're very happy to support this bond item, and we look forward to all of the work that can be done through its approval.
Thank you very much for those wonderful remarks and the example you set in Warren. Again, I wanted to let people know Vote Yes on 2ri.com is a place that you can get information about this bond question. And you need to get your request for a mail ballot in within the next week. Our next speaker is the Executive Director and CEO of the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank. Under his leadership, the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, RIB, has been really well known for innovative financing, for working with communities on solutions and helping them achieve their goals, creating jobs and growing green. One source of pride for us here at DEM is the Municipal Resilience Program that was created under the leadership of RIB and provides that direct support for cities and towns to invest in things that make them stronger for a future confronting climate change. So thank you for all you do, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff Deal.
Thank you, Director, and thank you for the partnership of you and your colleagues at the Department of Environmental Management. Good morning, everyone. The 2021 Beach Clean Water and Green Economy Bond directs $15 million to the Infrastructure Bank to support our below-market loan and grant programs that invest in clean and safe drinking water infrastructure statewide. Plus, it provides $7 million to support grants to municipalities for infrastructure projects that make our communities more resilient to climate change and severe weather events. The $15 million for our clean and safe drinking water infrastructure programs will unlock $75 million in federal funds. These funds will in turn attract private sector capital and enable us to provide grants and below market interest rate loans totaling $150 to $250 million. These grants and loans will save our communities and ratepayers tens of millions of dollars versus funding these investments with banks or in the bond market. Our loans and grants improve the operation of wastewater treatment facilities and drinking water plants while making them more resilient and energy efficient. They address contaminated wells in our communities and remediate lead water mains. Projects manage stormwater runoff while creating green spaces in blighted urban neighborhoods, and they also improve drinking water systems in lower-income communities. This investment will make Narragansett Bay and our rivers cleaner, our drinking water safer, our communities greener, and create and support thousands and thousands of jobs for Rhode Islanders. In 2019, the Infrastructure Bank, in partnership with the Nature Conservancy, launched the Municipal Resilience Program to assist our cities and towns to develop strategies and prioritize projects to increase the resiliency to climate change and severe weather events. To date, 200 projects with an estimated cost of $130 million have been identified for those communities that have gone through the program, and more will be identified as the program continues to progress. The $7 million of grants in this bond support the Municipal Resilience Program and attract multiples of outside capital and will accelerate making our communities resilient to climate change and significantly reduce the cost of recovery from severe weather events. These resiliency projects also create and support 21st century green jobs. Overall, this investment in clean and safe drinking water and resiliency supports jobs and will make Rhode Island an even better place to live, work, and play. Please vote yes on question 2. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And the work that you've done to make sure that the Resilient Rhody Plan can be implemented by communities who get to decide what their priorities are has been really transformative. Our nation's nearly 500 state and local labor councils of the AFL-CIO are the heart of the labor movement. They're dedicated to representing the interests of working people. And our next speaker is the fearless leader of the Rhode Island AFL-CIO, who has always worked to represent everyone, all Rhode Islanders. He's really dedicated his career to helping people keep and train for and have jobs that make life meaningful. And he knows a lot about this topic. I know that the labor movement supports all the bonds, but our next speaker, ever since I had this job, has sent me free advice about how to do a better job at taking care of our parks, how to reduce beach traffic, what we need at Scarborough State Beach. And so I know he's personally applauding these investments. Thanks for being here today. I'm proud to introduce AFL-CIO President George Nee.
Thank you very much, Janet, for that wonderful introduction. And on behalf of the Rhode Island AFL-CIO, we'd like to emphasize that we have been a longtime supporter of the environmental and recreation bond issues that have come before our voters for many, many years. We believe this is a tremendous opportunity for us to both create jobs and obviously get a better and cleaner environment for all of our citizens. the working people of our state will have many, many benefits from the passage of this bond issue. Obviously, jobs, very important jobs, and usually very well-paying jobs. Cleaner water, more recreation, protection of our infrastructure, and the overall quality of life. We are a better state because of the past investments in our environment and recreation, and will be an even better state when we vote to approve question 2. And I'm hoping that I'll add to my list with Janet that maybe we can get a playground down at Scarborough, and eventually we'll get free parking for all the beaches. But we have a disagreement on that over the years, but maybe this will get it moving. But we got to get a playground, and we got to turn back to grass that secondary parking lot at Scarborough so we don't have any runoff. See, I'm learning all this stuff about the environment.
I like the way you get personally involved. Talk about getting in the weeds. Thank you so much, George. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker was born and raised in Providence, switching between Olneyville and the Federal Hill neighborhoods, and spending much of her childhood playing in Donegan Park. 10 years ago, she became a river ranger for the Woonasquatucket River Watershed Council. And then, after earning her degree in International Studies and Film and Interactive Media Studies from Brandeis University, she began work at the Massachusetts College of Art and Design. Lucky for us, however, she stayed involved in improving the neighborhood that she loves, and that she bikes in, and that she benefits through all of her good work. And she joined the board of the Woonasquatucket River Watershed Council. She lives in Olneyville, just a short walk away from the Woonies Greenway and Path, and so very pleased that Jen Racinos is here to speak with us today. Jennifer?
Hi everyone. Thank you so much. That was such a great introduction. I'm honored to be here today with Janet Coit, Nelly Gorbea, Seth Magaziner, Rep. Joe Shekarchi, Mayor Donald Gorbea, Kate Michaud, Jeff Deal, and George Nee. I especially want to thank Mary Ellen Goodwin for supporting WRWC. As you mentioned, I'm here today representing the Woonasquatucket River Watershed Council. I am a board member, but yes, 10 years ago I was just a river ranger cleaning up parks in Olneyville, which was really important to me. I was born and raised there, and it was really great experience to help clean up the parks that I grew up playing in every day. I've been amazed by the work that has come out of Providence since then, how bikeways have developed and greenways have transformed. My favorite thing about being from Rhode Island and living in Rhode Island is, as you all mentioned, it's access to beaches and parks. But what good is that if we can't swim in the water and if we can't eat the fish that comes out of the sea? I spent much of my childhood hanging out in Newport Beach and Second Beach and Bristol with my mom, just going clamming and looking for mussels, and that's one of my really fondest memories. So for me, supporting this is really just investing in the quality of life for everyone and continuing those memories for future generations. Also, I want to mention that I have lived in other cities before, such as Boston and Oakland, and whenever I talk about Rhode Island, I think there's a really negative misconception that there's nothing to offer here, that there's nothing in Providence, and it's really frustrating to hear that, especially because I'm really proud of where I'm from. But yeah, I think there is a common misconception that there isn't anything here, and I think that is changing. But I would like to continue that investment and continue growing that positive perception of this city, because I believe there is a lot to offer here, and I would love to share that more with people, with tourists, and just kind of share where I grew up. So for me, it's definitely a no-brainer to support this green bond, and I hope that everyone would agree with that. Yeah, I thank you for inviting me to speak on that.
Thank you, Jen, so much. Thank you for your voice and all you do. And I want to make clear that the Woonasquatucket River watershed isn't just a Providence issue. It starts in North Smithfield and runs through Gloucester, Smithfield, North Providence, and Johnston. And it is really one of the amazing stories of revitalization, of taking back a waterway and allowing the community to rediscover a beautiful, beautiful urban river that now is teeming with life and vibrancy because of the work of the Woonasquatucket River Watershed Council and all of its supporters. Our final speaker today is well known to many. He is a tireless champion for Narragansett Bay. All of those wonderful rivers in Rhode Island are flowing down to our vibrant estuary. And this speaker has always spoke up for the Bay, spoke out against plans and activities that harm the Bay, together with the team at Save the Bay, their watchdogs that certainly are looking over the shoulder of both industries, individuals, and places like DEM to ask us to do a better job of preventing pollution and protecting the Bay. He also has played a pivotal role in bond after bond, demonstrating to people how these investments help our economy, help our environment, and make Rhode Island a better place. So thank you so much for all you do. Topher Hamlet.
Thank you, Janet, and thank you all for being here today for the kickoff of the Yes on 2 campaign. This is a big moment for the Ocean State. We, the voters, have the opportunity to decide on a $74 million investment that will help our state for years to come. As you've heard, the $74 million in question 2 will leverage tens of millions of dollars more in federal support for clean water, beaches, parks, and recreation. It will put Rhode Islanders to work protecting what is best about our state. And many of you know Rhode Island voters have always stepped up when given the opportunity to vote for clean water. It's who we are. For decades, Rhode Islanders have been turning back pollution and reclaiming our waters. It's a national and global success story that we should all be very proud of. But we have to protect the progress we've made. We have to build upon it for our kids and our grandkids. And that's why voting yes on 2 is so important. Rhode Islanders, this is a call to action. Vote yes on 2. Whether by mail ballot, early voting, or going to the polls on March 2nd, vote yes on 2. If you want clean water, vote yes on 2. If you love Narragansett Bay, vote yes on 2. If you want to leave clean water and a healthy environment for future generations of Rhode Islanders who are dealing with climate change, vote yes on 2. This is an important moment in our state's history. Let's get it done. With that, I think we're going to move on to some question and the Q&A. If you're interested in learning more about this campaign and the March 2nd special election, you can visit voteyesonto.ri.com or our Facebook handle at Yes on 2 Rhode Island. So with that, I want to thank again all the speakers again and open it up to Q&A. Thus far, we have none. We'll just give it a minute. While we're waiting, I do want to again repeat. You can visit Yes on 2 Rhode Island on Facebook, as well as yesonto.ri.com. If we don't have any questions right away, I do want to note that all of our speakers are available for follow-up questions from the press, and we're happy to answer any questions you have and shed more light on this ballot question. But again, please turn out. Please vote yes on 2. Don't take progress for granted. Let's keep going with the cleanup and reclamation of our environment. Thank you. Back to you, Janet.
Great. I don't see any questions either, and I'm hoping that means because we had such a compelling and informative program that we answered all the questions. But as Topher said, any of us are available, and these investments are something Rhode Island does right. They're successful, they matter, and the fact that we've kept them up has been really important to improving the quality of our environment. But this is the biggest green bond that we've had in decades, and it's a special election. So it's really important to get the word out and really important for people to vote. So I joined Topher and all the speakers in saying vote yes on 2. And unless I see a question, I think we'll wrap up and let people get back to carefully navigating this day. Slippery out there. thank you all. This was a fantastic group of leaders and community members, and we're all in this together. Thank you.
Thank you.